DIY we're making today is a old book dahlia flower, and what we're going to need is some pages from an old book. This book had lost its front page, it was falling apart, so it's the best way to recycle it. Could have either chucked it in the recycling or use it for a DIY, so that's what I'm doing. So I've got some old pages here, and we need some Pritt stick or some glue stick, other brands available, some scissors, need glue gun for later in the craft, got some pegs here for pegging out the cones, which we'll come to, glue gun sticks for that, and then what we need here is a couple of templates. So I've got a 4x4 inch template, and we use that to cut out the pages to the right size, and then we'll make those into the larger cones. And then we've got a 3x3 template, cut those out and we'll make them into the smaller cones. And then the last thing that we need for the moment is a piece of cardboard, and this is just under a foot wide. It's meant to be a foot, but the bit of cardboard didn't go to a foot, so it's about 11 3/4 inches, and I've just cut it into a circular shape, and we're going to use this where we put our cones on the edge as the base. And then I'm going to do something different with it once we've created all of this, but I'll show you that later in the video. So now I'm going to get on with cutting out the pieces of paper, and then we'll make the cones. Okay, so I'm just going to show you quickly how I cut out the squares before I speed up the video. So I get my 4x4 template and I place it on either the top line of the text or just above the number at the bottom of the page, and you just got to make sure there's enough text either side, because otherwise when you make your cone you'll have a slight blank curve and edge to it, and you want it to have all the text so that you can see it's what it's made from. So I cut along the top line of the text or the bottom, place my template on there, then I just cut round like this. I don't have to be exact about it because it is a homemade DIY flower craft, and they're all going to be made into cones anyway, so you won't see what's a straight line and what's not once you've got to that point. So that's the first bit of paper the same size. So I'm just going to do another couple on these, and then I'm going to show you how to make them into the cones. So now I've cut out some squares, I'm going to show you how I make these into the cones. So using another bit of page paper that you can't use, like I said, about the text going down both sides, it's not on that one, so I use that as a tray as I do it. So then I get my square and I make sure that the writing is facing, so when I curve it I want all the writing to be facing the same way. And I get my Pritt stick, and on the right hand side I just run a line up there like that, peel it off, and then I just fold over the opposite corners like that and bring them round so they meet near enough, and so you get a little point at the end. Press it down as you go, and that's when these pegs come into it. I just use that to peg on the top just to make sure it holds. So I will get on with making the cones, and I will speed up the video as we do it. I think I'm going to need about 120 of these cones for the size of the circle I have, so I'm just going to get those done now, and then we'll come back and make the smaller 3x3 squares. There we go, so that's all the large cones. I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, and I've ended up with 126. So hopefully that's enough large cones to go around the edge. So scoop that all up out the way, and then we're going to start with the 3x3 templates. And we're going to do the same thing all over again. So cut the shapes out, then I'm going to make them into cones, and then we'll stack them up like this. And we'll put them to one side, and then we'll come back to glue them onto our cardboard circle. So have some squares now cut out, so I'm going to do exactly what we did before using the pegs. So put our squares on an old bit of paper, glue down the side like that, lift it up and then pull it over and put the side that has the blue one on top. These are obviously going to be slightly smaller cones. Place in, just give it a bit of a press to make sure that that's set. Put your peg on to set and place them down. So I'm going to go through my pile of small cones and then we'll come back to start gluing them onto the square. Go. So now I've got 30 of the smaller cones. I don't think I'm going to need that many. I think I'm going to need somewhere between 10 and 20, but it's best to have extra. So there's the small cones and there's the large cones. So now the next step is to attach them to the cardboard circle. So the small ones I'll put aside, I'll need them later. The big ones I'll need first. So here's my circle. Like I said earlier, it's just under 12 inches circle. 12 inches in diameter, and what I've done is, if I flip it over you can see, so I have drawn circles in about inch, I guess, radius going forwards, going into the centre, and I'm going to use them as a guide to stick our large cones to. So what I'm going to do is flatten the edge slightly and then stick them on like that, so they will hang over the edge slightly. So then I'm using the guide, so I'm going to do them at about an inch spaced around the edge, and then once I've done that I will come in and we'll go into the middle bit, but we'll have to bring it in ever so slightly so that the largest of the cones doesn't go further than that, so then the circles slowly get smaller. We will work it out as we go. That's the plan. So I'm going to use my glue gun. So getting my glue gun here, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the outside there, flatten down my cone and stick the first one in place, and then like I said I'm going to go about an inch this direction, flatten down the cone and stick that one in place. So I'm going to carry that all around the circle, and when I've completed the large circle we'll come back and we will start the next one together. That's the outside rim now done, so I'm going to go in and go on the inside, and I'm going to go, like I said, slightly in so it sits a little bit proud of the other ones, but around the circle, so in each of the gaps. That's the second row down of the flowers. So the next row, I'm going to start putting them a little more down so they stand up a little bit higher, because as we get closer we want them to bring themselves upwards. So that's going to be like that. So I'm going to now fill in the gaps that we've got left there with these on the third row. That's the third row done of the petals. So I'm going to do one more row, I think, of the large ones and bring them in like that. And then I think I'll wait and see, but then I think I might do the last 2 rows and then obviously the centre ones of the small ones. I'll do one more row of the big ones and then we'll see what that looks like. That's the 4th row done. Okay, so I am thinking, I'm not too sure yet whether, no, I think I'm going to have to go another row of the large ones in here and then I will fill in the middle. So I'm going to go another row of the large and then we'll see what that looks like and see if we want to put the smaller ones in there. So I shall now speed up the video for this row. There we go, that's that row of the large petals done. As you can see, it's looking pretty awesome. I'll do a full shot of it towards the end. So now I'm going to fill in the middle bit, and I am now going to start on the smaller cones. So the smaller petals in there, they only need a little bit tipped over to start with, so they're up high. And then I'll just fill in the gaps and then squeeze a couple more into the middle. So I'll do that. That's the first row of the smaller petals in there. So I'm going to go in with another row in there, and then if I have space I'll squeeze a couple more into the middle, but it might be that this is the last row. So I'm just going to keep going until I can get as many more in as possible, and then that is it done. I do love the different colours of the papers as well, it gives it a really nice effect. And just as a teaser for a future video coming up, I'm going to do one of these but in felt. My daughter wants one in felt colour for her room, so I'll be doing that in a few videos time, so please do come back for that one. So I'll get on with another row of the smaller petals in the middle. So that's that last row of the little ones done. So I'm going to squeeze in, because if you lift this up, in the centre there you can just see a bit of a gap. So I'm going to squeeze in 1 or 2 extra ones. Don't know whether I'll get 3 in there. If I push them back I might get 3 in there just to finish off the centre. So I'm going to do what I did on that last view. You would have noticed I put a bit of glue on the end of them because it's getting very tight in there to find space. So actually that needs to go down even further, so let's squish. I'll take that one out. That needs to go. Right, start with another one. Let's see, even us DIYers with our own channels aren't perfect at doing this. Every now and then something goes a bit wrong. So I'm going to set the height on those. Yeah, about there. Okay, so I'm going to put a bit of glue on the tail of that and then push that on in. There we go. Then I'm going to do another 2 of those into that space. So I have 3. I like the look of odd numbers. I don't like the look of even numbers, and I don't know, I think it comes from school. I remember my art teacher telling me that nothing in nature has even numbers. I don't know if it's true. Everything has odd numbers, and ever since then when I do a piece of art or a piece of decoration for the house, I always try my best to get in the odd numbers into the pattern. There we go, just hold that in. That one's twisted slightly, so let's bring that round. And there we go. Nice little finish to the middle of the flower there, tidies up that space. So that is the full flower. I will take you off the stand and give you a look over it, and then I will show you shortly about what I'm planning to do with the actual item and how I'm going to mount it onto the wall. There we go, it's the full item, so we'll come back and I'll show you how I'm going to mount that. So for the next part of this DIY, I'm going to need a board. This board is just slightly bigger than the flower, if I just show you. So if I bring that over, there's the finished flower, and you can see there's literally, a centimetre top, bottom and side for this flower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this board. I have got this grey material and it's stretchy, so I'm hoping it will stretch all the way over. It's very close, but we'll hopefully get there with that one. Top and bottom, top's no problem. So then we're going to cut this one. So take out all these seams, because that's what we're going to use to drag it over the top. And the other side. So what this is an old pillowcase. It's just this nice grey sort of flannelly colour, because my landing is sort of a neutral colour scheme, and so I want the neutral colour scheme to match for this, because this is where this is going to go on my landing, in this little nook, reading nook that I've created for the kids. It's got all their books on it, and I quite like sitting up there and reading too, to be honest. It's really relaxing, and it's easy to tell like that. It's really relaxing. Got this lovely gin lamp that my mate made for me, and it's lovely. It's very peaceful. So that's the material there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this very bit, and hopefully we can just, it's going to be very stretched, but let's hope for it. And I've got my staple gun here, so unlock it, it's ready to go. So I'm going to flip this over so that material is underneath. And you can always keep the board as it is. You could paint it should you so wish. It's completely up to you which you do. So I am going to staple this side first. So I'm going to pull it over, like that. Push that down a bit because that bit's not as wide. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull over just the tiniest, I'm going to pull over just the tiniest bit to cut that label out. It's going to get in the way. So I'm going to pull over the tiniest little bit just so it sits. The edge of that sits on the very edge of the board. So staple it down, staple it in. And I'm going to work my way up, keeping that tension, but only for like that tiniest little bit over the board. And every 3 inches or so, staple in. Work your way up all the sides. And then we're going to flip it round, and this is where we've got to pull it and create that tension. Make sure it can fit all the way over. So I'm going to do the top corner first, just so I can pull it round. There we go, just about. So let's hope this works. There we go. Done that one, and let's do the other corner. And then the middle. This is very tight. Might need a few extra on this side once we get to it, just to make sure it stays put. It's a bit like upholstering a chair, this. That one's very tight there. I'm going to catch the very edge. Work my way on that one, I think. Oh, that one didn't catch. Pull that one out. Go again. Just fill in these gaps. Between those points that are ever so pulley. Over. Oops, daisy. Pull that one over. Go, and that one in the middle there. Oops. You just got to keep that tension, and the moment you lose it, go on. It just springs back, that's the problem. Working up the board a bit. Might not need as many up here for some reason. Doesn't seem to be quite as tight. I might put 2 in here instead of 1, just to equal out the pull. And here. One. Maybe it's 2 here. That one there. And one at the top. There we go. Let's just have a look at the edge there. Might just these couple where it slightly dips. Another pull. Just secure it in place. Not like that because I completely missed the board. That one again. Better. And this one here. Again, it's going to be up on the wall, so it's not going to be really seen that much. So flip it over. Lovely. So that side, see, just looks like a nice material covered board, which is what we want. So now we need to finish the ends. Actually, what I will do is I will just quickly put a couple of the tacks in this side in between where I've pulled that up, just to hold it in place again because it's been pulled from the other side. Just so it doesn't turn, so a couple along the edge like this. Catch the edge of the unit just to hold it in place where I need just got to do the corners. Where did my scissors go? There they are. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trim off this material, leaving a couple of inches to play with. I mean, ideally I would have had a couple of inches on the sides as well, but I haven't, so that's fine. That one side. And like I always say, don't throw out bits of material, because they'd make some lovely little headbands out of those for some girls, or yourself, or you'll be able to do a bit of rag sewing, rag blanket with those. Something I might try later on. Right, so I'm going to do the bottom first here. So I'm going to pull up on the side there, give one, and do this every couple of inches in, and I will trim off the excess of this shortly. Right, once that's done, it's just the tricky part of the corners, and where this is thick material, it makes it a bit more tricky. So I've got to fold corners in and then just bring it up, and then that will staple over this top and hold it in place. I might just do another one just to have two in place there. I'll do the other corner, so pull it over and then fold it in and pull it up. Couple in place just to hold it, and then you can just trim off the excess over the top of that. Like that. Nobody will see that, it is the back of the picture. So there we go. And then just got to do the same at the top here. This corner here looks like it might be a bit of a trouble one to do, because it looks like quite short of material. So we'll just work our way along towards that one in a minute and see what I can do. Hopefully I don't have to forge it too much. Just put that one in there. Let's have a look at this corner. So material round and fold it in. So I'm going to add an extra staple in there to hold that in place, and then hopefully that will come around the top. It's not traditionally how I like to do the corners, but it will work perfectly fine. So then I'm going to put one there and one there. There we go. I've just got to do this corner down here, and then we can attach our flower. So fold the corner in, fold it on itself, a couple of tacks in place, like that, and then trim off the excess. And then we have our fabric covered board. Now obviously you can do this in whatever colour fabrics you want. I've chosen this neutral grey because it will go with the decor on my landing. But when I do the felt version of this for my daughter, it won't be so neutral, because her room is purple and teal. And let her flip it over, and then we have our fabric covered board. I'll just get rid of the excess little threads on the side. And then the next step to do is attach our flower to the board. So I have the flower here, and that is just going to sit smack bang in the middle. So what I'm going to do is heat up my glue gun, and then we'll get on with that. Now my glue gun has heated up, I can gently turn the flower over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliberately spread glue around like so. Just grab hold of the material, There we go. Flip this back over and place it. Oops. Place it in place, and then gently press down. Glue, gun glue sticks very well to material, so this shouldn't have a problem adhering at all. Give it just a good gentle press, try not to flatten any of your petals as you go. There we go. Press that one down. There we go. And there we have my Dahlia book page, all ready to be hung on my reading wall.